Welcome back to the Icecrown Raid Guide. My name is The Great Me, and in this video I will be discussing our strategy for Festergut, which is the 5th boss in the Icecrown Citadel raid instance. The Festergut encounter is relatively simple in terms of the complexity of the mechanics. However, because of the shortened rage timer and the large amounts of damage that the raid and tanks take, the fight is essentially a gear check. Once you initiate the pull, the room will be filled with a gas cloud that will do around 4,500 damage to everyone in the raid every 2 seconds. Your range should be spread out in a semicircle around the boss, making sure that they are all at least 8 yards away from each other so multiple people aren't hit with vile gas at the same time. Vile gas is basically a conflagrate type debuff that causes the player targeted and anyone within 8 yards of them to become disoriented and do damage to everyone around them for 6 seconds. Approximately every 30 seconds, Festergut will cast Inhale Blight. This will reduce the damage done by the gas cloud by 1/3, but it will also cause him to gain a stacking buff that increases his damage and his attack speed by 30%. As Festergut's stacks increase, it may be advisable to rotate cooldowns on the tanks as needed because Festergut will be hitting very hard by the time he does his 3rd Inhale Blight cast. Approximately every 35 seconds, Festergut will give 3 random raid members a debuff called Gas Spore. After 12 seconds, the spore will detonate and give all raid members within 8 yards a debuff doing 2,000 damage every second for 6 seconds. Whoever survives this debuff will gain another debuff called Inoculated, which reduces their shadow damage taken by 25% and can stack up to 3 times. Whoever gets the Gas Spore debuff will have an animation that looks exactly like the spores from Loatheb floating over their head. It is imperative that everyone gets under these spores before they detonate and then immediately spreads out to their original position. It is vital that every single person in the raid gets inoculated, including the tanks. Because you have 12 seconds to get to the nearest spore, under normal circumstances people with gas spores should never have to move. But if there's no spore in melee, it is vital that one goes there. Or, if 2 spores are right next to each other, they need to spread out because you do not want the detonation debuff to stack. Because even though the damage over time debuff can stack, it will not grant you multiple stacks of Inoculated. It'll only grant 1, even if you have 2 or 3 stacks of the dot. Around 20 seconds after the 3rd inhale, Festergut will use Pungent Blight, which does 50,000 shadow damage to everyone in the raid. This ability removes all stacks of Inoculated, and it also resets Festergut's stacks of Inhale, and releases the Gaseous Blight back into the room. By the time Pungent Blight is cast, everyone in the raid should have 3 stacks of Inoculated, and therefore only take around 13,000 damage when it is cast. If a player does not have 3 stacks of Inoculated, they should use their own defensive cooldowns, or have a healer use a cooldown on them if one is available. Finally, every 10 seconds, Festergut will put a debuff on the tank called Gastric Bloat, which increases their damage done by 10% for 100 seconds and stacks up to 10 times. If the tank reaches 10 stacks, it will explode, doing 50,000 nature damage to everyone nearby. If this happens, your raid will wipe. To prevent this, you need to have at least 2 tanks for this encounter. Your second tank should taunt the boss once your first tank has 9 stacks. The first tank should then switch to a DPS stance or turn off Righteous Fury because otherwise they might pull aggro. This tank should immediately taunt the moment that their debuffs have worn off because by that time the other tank will be only seconds away from taking a 10th stack of their debuffs. Thank you for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either in the comments section on YouTube or in the thread dedicated to this guide on TankSpot.com. Also, TankSpot donors can download all of these movies directly from our servers in high definition. Click the second link in the movie information box to learn more.